2022 was an interesting year for mythology. We got myth-related Marvel movies, a myth-related DC movie, a myth-related Marvel show, a myth-related DC show, a myth-related Bollywood movie, and so on and so on. I've already made discussion videos on most of these properties, but I thought it would also be fun to rank them all against each other. Unfortunately, I won't be including video games on this list since there were several I didn't get a chance to play, like Ghostwire Tokyo and Midnight Suns. But just know that if I was including games, God of War Ragnarok would be at the very top of this list, and Diablo Immortal would be at the very bottom. Seriously, avoid that game like the plague. I'm certain there are at least a couple rankings here most people will disagree with. Keep in mind, this is all opinion-based. My opinion may be very different from yours. It is what it is. Let's get started.
14.
Halloween Ends. What an absolute travesty of a movie. Not just the worst myth movie of 2022, but the worst movie, period, that I've seen in years. Who the hell thought it was a good idea to make a Michael Myers movie where he's only in the film for 10 minutes, and when he does show up, he's just a pathetic, sad old man who can't do anything? Yeah, he didn't have a lot of screen time in the original, but when he did appear in the original, he was legit intimidating and scary. In this movie, I kid you not, a stupid, annoying 20-year-old just walks up to Michael, beats the crap out of him, and takes his mask. Just out of nowhere. And there are also really weird plot moments where Michael grabs this kid and suddenly has telepathic powers. I can't follow this plot at all anymore. All that buildup of Michael and Laurie's rivalry from the trailer and all the advertising, it was all a lie. The movie focuses on some other loser instead. It's not scary, it's not fun, it's not satisfying. Most of the kills happen off-screen. There's an idiotic Twilight-style romance. The plot makes no sense, and it's just so boring. The fact that this was supposed to be the big finale for Michael Myers is mind-blowing to me. And some people have actually defended how weak Michael is in this movie by saying, oh, well, he's weak because he hasn't killed anyone in years. He gets his power from killing people, so it makes sense that he's super weak now. Really? Is that why he was super strong in the 2018 movie where he hadn't killed anyone in 40 years? No, this doesn't work. This doesn't line up. Stop defending it. I have nothing good to say about this film. If you want to hear my full thoughts on it, go check out my rant video. Pure and absolute garbage.
13.
Uncharted. I am a huge fan of the Uncharted games, so I felt every ounce of lameness that this movie was as an adaptation. Now, it's not terrible, but it's not at all worth watching, especially if you're a fan of the games. I don't even think I need to mention just how miscast this is. Tom Holland, God bless him, I know he's trying, but this just doesn't work. And Marky Mark is way worse, to be honest. The Uncharted games are famous for their likable characters, funny moments, awesome fights, and downright incredible set pieces. This movie has unlikable characters, maybe 2 funny moments, forgettable fights, stupid cliches, an absolute joke of a villain, and maybe 1 attempt at a set piece moment. Forgettable is honestly the best way to describe this film. And pointless. It left no impact on me, unlike the games, which have all stayed with me years after playing them. In my opinion, if you want to see a fun, entertaining treasure hunt explorer movie that came out in 2022, go check out The Lost City. That movie made me laugh. A lot.
12.
Wednesday. You know what I absolutely love? The Addams Family. You know what I absolutely hate? CW-style teen dramas. So, you can imagine how conflicted I was when I saw a show that did both of those things. Basing a show around an older Wednesday Addams is not a bad idea. There was actually a YouTuber several years ago who did a great job with that premise. This show isn't nearly as good as that YouTube series. The entire setup here is Wednesday is being sent to a school. Okay, we've seen that before, but this time it's a school for strange and unusual people like her. Alright, well, we haven't seen that before, so how's this gonna go? Well, exactly how it would go at a normal school. yeah, the students who are specifically here because they're strange and unusual make fun of Wednesday for being strange and unusual. What's the point? Just make it a normal school if you're gonna do that. And on top of that, the show takes itself way too seriously. There's this important murder mystery, a dramatic love triangle, a dark town history, a prophecy that Wednesday will bring about the doom of the school. What are you doing? This is an Addams Family adaptation. Stop trying to make it mean something and just have fun. The Addams are supposed to love it when bad things happen. That's their entire thing. Fortunately, the show does have several fun little moments where they do use Addams Family humor, so I was still able to have fun with the show as a whole. Basically, when it's the Addams Family, I like it. But when it does the teen drama stuff, I don't like it. So, it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it, and hey, at least we got that funny meme dance out of it. So, overall, I'm glad I saw it. I just really think some things could have been improved on. Maybe we'll see how season 2 goes.
Good. 11.
Thor Love and Thunder. Man, I was way too nice in my discussion video for this one. I think because I went in knowing it was going to be silly, so I just kind of turned my brain off and had fun with it. But when I really took the time to think about it, I realized how much missed opportunity this film had. And how just straight up dumb it was at times. The plot to this film could have been so intense. There is a literal god killer on the loose, murdering deities left and right. How many do we see him kill? 1. And that one was kind of a jerk anyway, so not like any stakes were established there. Sif's in the movie. For no reason. She does absolutely nothing. Why didn't you have Gore kill her? At one point, there's a whole kingdom of gods. All right, awesome. What's going to happen when Gore comes here? Oh, he doesn't. In fact, none of these gods get involved in the plot at all. Apparently, there were more Gore scenes that were cut out of the film, and it's a darn shame because his origin and Christian Bale's performance were both very good. You could have had one of the greatest Marvel villains here, but instead he's just a joke like everything else in this film. Korg, one of my favorite characters from the Hulk comics, is just a clown at this point. And speaking of jokes, there are way too many of them here. Some are legit funny, but when you just keep drowning the audience in silly moment after silly moment, it gets old. Ragnarok was a funny film, but it knew how to balance the funny moments with serious moments and have real stakes. My god, Hela killed more gods on screen than the literal God Butcher. And at the end, Thor uses a power that basically breaks the entire Marvel plotline. Like, seriously, has he been able to do this the whole time? Why didn't he use this power in Endgame? One thing I do still like, though, is the Jane Foster story. I thought that was pretty good, and the way her story ended was also pretty good. Look, if you turn your brain off, I still think this movie is enjoyable, but this definitely ain't no thinking man's film.
10.
Hellraiser. I know. A lot of people really love this movie and would want it to be higher on the list, and I get why. The performances are great, the designs are great, the practical effects are great, some parts of the plot are good, a couple of the kills are pretty darn good, but I personally have some problems with this film. For one, I didn't like the main character. Pretty quickly, she just came off to me as an ungrateful, lying, thieving jerk and a bum. I mean, I guess that's kind of the idea for the beginning, but that made it really hard for me to root for her throughout the film. The whole time I was just thinking, I don't really care what happens to you, you're kind of a dick. Also, this is supposed to be a horror slasher film, and the first 3 kills happen off-screen. I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. I am so sick and tired of horror films, especially horror slasher films, pulling that stupid move. It is beyond lazy, and it's not what I come to a Hellraiser film for, of all franchises. And one of the kills that we do get to see lasts all of half a second. I don't know if that was supposed to be satisfying or what. Now, look, again, there are good things in the film. I think the ending is actually very good, but it didn't make the rest of the film worth it. At the end of the day, I didn't get what I come to a Hellraiser movie for overall. There were maybe a few small scenes I enjoyed out of the entire runtime, and that doesn't justify a full watch in my opinion. I'm sorry. You're more than welcome to disagree with me or point out anything you think I may have missed or misinterpreted. I'd be happy to hear it.
Well, I didn't know they made ninth place ribbons.
Brahmastra. If you saw my trailer reaction, you know I was super hyped for this film. I went in expecting an insanely over-the-top, crazy action movie with mythical, magical energies flying all over the place. And we do kinda get some of that in this film, but unfortunately, it doesn't make up nearly enough of the film. What the film instead mainly focuses on is the love story. And it's not a particularly strong love story. Don't get me wrong, the characters are very likable, but unfortunately, the plot could have been a lot better. For one thing, it's like a love at first sight story. Those are never particularly great. And way too much time is spent on it. I swear, at one point, they find out a character's life is in danger, and instead of going to save him, they decide to immediately start singing about how in love they are? I don't know who decided to put that in there. That was a really weird moment. It's weird because a couple of the songs are actually really good, but I can think of at least two that really should have just been cut out of the movie. And this is a long movie. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. If the movie had been cut down a bit, 2 songs had been cut out, and a lot more of the crazy action was focused on, then this would have been the movie that me and so many other people were really excited to see. But unfortunately, with the choices they made, a lot of people were disappointed. I still had a good time with it overall, but if they do end up making that sequel they're planning on, I really hope they make it more action-packed and less overly corny. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, all Bollywood movies are like that. I don't think so. Three Idiots did a really good balance of all these things. So, I don't know, maybe take a note from that.
I ain't getting nothing with 8.
Black Adam. Oh, the development hell is strong with this one. Apparently it took The Rock 15 years to make this movie a reality, and that might explain some of the issues with it. In a lot of ways, this movie feels kind of messy and unfocused, but there are some really great things about it. The Black Adam character is very entertaining, and when he's going around straight up killing people, the movie's a ton of fun. But there are some problems with the plot and characters. Like, one of the main central characters to the story here is this kid character. I think they were going for like a Terminator 2 kind of thing. But unfortunately, the kid isn't very good. I don't know if it was the acting or the writing, but it just doesn't really work here. He does have one funny line, though, where the mom says to Black Adam, I don't want you to teach my son violence, and then Black Adam says, well then who is gonna teach him violence? And the kid says, yeah mom, who is gonna teach me violence? That made me and the rest of the theater laugh. But there's also these other moments where the kid is supposed to inspire the town, and it just feels ridiculous, to be honest with you. The movie also has some weird moments that I feel like were part of the plan 15 years ago, but never went through. Like, they introduce a possible weakness for Black Adam, and then absolutely nothing is done with it. There's a scene where Black Adam gets captured, but then he's immediately needed right afterward. There's 2 members of the Justice Society who are pointless to the film. The villain is very underwhelming, and he's not even a bad idea for a villain. I like the whole kind of dark side to the Shazam magic they were going for there, and I really think it could have been something cool, but it just felt underutilized. However, the action was fun, and I did really have a great time during certain scenes, and I did laugh at a few of the jokes. But yeah, unfortunately, it didn't do a whole lot as a movie, and even more unfortunately, it looks like they're not going to go any further with the character, which honestly I think is a darn shame. I would have loved to see Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam go up against this version of Shazam, but I guess that's just not going to happen now. Or maybe it will. I don't know. DC Studios is just all over the place these days.
7. Yeah, whatever.
Turning Red. Yeah, I know this is another one a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me on, because I know there are several people who really didn't like this movie. And I don't get it. I personally thought the film was really cute and really charming and really pleasant in a lot of ways, and also had a lot of really good dramatic moments. Okay, maybe not a lot of really good dramatic moments, but the dramatic moments felt good. I don't know. A lot of people were saying that one of their problems with this film was it didn't feel relatable. And I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that my girlfriend is Asian and was also a 90s kid, and this movie is about an Asian 90s kid, and my girlfriend told me a lot about what growing up that way was like, and I saw what seemed like a lot of that in this film, so for me it looked like they did a really great job nailing down that experience. But of course, I'm not Asian, so if you are, I'd love to hear what you think on that note. Also, I really thought the Red Panda stuff was a lot of fun, and especially in about the last third of the film, there was a lot of really entertaining stuff going on. Some people said the animation was annoying, or the characters, were annoying. Personally, I thought it was a lot of fun, and the characters made me laugh quite a bit. But I guess that's just a matter of taste, different strokes for different folks. I don't know. Is there some other point I don't know about as to why people don't really like this film? I'm more than willing to hear what you guys think. Honestly, my girlfriend and I really enjoyed it, and she still listens to those boy band songs from the film. I mean, if that's the result, I think the movie is definitely doing something right.
And I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Hey, here's a movie I've got mixed feelings on, but the good news is some of those feelings are really positive. Like, the action is a ton of fun. Wakanda is a ton of fun, although we don't really see much of Wakanda like we did in the first film, but I guess that's because they more wanted to focus on the new Atlantean characters in their city. Unfortunately, we can't really see much of their city either, but the parts we do see are really cool. And I really like how they styled the Atlanteans after Mayan culture, because I'm a huge sucker for Mayan and Aztec culture and mythology. I liked how Namor is basically their version of Kukulkan in this. Some people said he was too silly with the winged feet, but I'm gonna have to heavily disagree. I thought it was incredibly badass how he zipped and flew through the air during his action scenes. I thought that was the highlight of the movie, personally. There's also some standout performances here. The Queen is a very entertaining character, and M'Baku is always a lot of fun. Okoye, of course, I always love Okoye, but there are some negatives to the film too. However, the negatives aren't really the film's fault. They are the result of the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, and this movie having to catch up with that and pivot and adjust to the loss of their leading man. They have to introduce a new Black Panther. They have to introduce more character development for the girl who's going to become the new Black Panther. Honestly, I'm shocked if anyone doesn't know who the new Black Panther is, but apparently some people didn't, so I guess I won't ruin it here. Also, the movie is too long, but again, that's probably because of everything they have to introduce and catch up with as a result of losing Chadwick. One thing that didn't need to be in the movie, though, was Ironheart. She should have been cut out of the film, in my opinion. But honestly, I don't know what else I would cut out, because the rest of the film feels very necessary, and the awesome moments are genuinely awesome. Again, for me, Namor and the Atlanteans are the highlight of the film. But I also do have some legitimate problems with the plot, particularly how much Wakanda basically deceives the world governments in favor of Atlantis, even though Atlantis is attacking them? I'm not sure why they try so hard to defend Ironheart, but they don't tell the Americans who slaughtered a ton of their oil rig workers? I don't know. I've got some real mixed feelings here, and if you want to hear me really go in depth on that, you can check out my discussion video and let me hear your side of whatever you think explains it all. But yeah, I still like the movie overall. I still think it's good, and I'm always down to see more Wakanda. Moon Knight. I had a lot of fun with this show. The action was a lot of fun. The characters were entertaining. The villain isn't great, but he is interesting, and I do understand his motivation and why he's doing what he's doing. In fact, it's the kind of motivation that I believe could have some people debating whether or not it's right for him to do it in the first place. Kind of similar to what Thanos was doing. Now, there are some gripes with it. Amit, for example, is just an alligator instead of being 3 different animals merged together, which is kind of what makes her really creative and interesting. Also, the final fight, I won't ruin it, but something very annoying and disappointing happens in it that prevents us from getting proper satisfaction out of it. But the rest of the show, I honestly really liked. I love the whole dual personality story, and what really stands out here is Oscar Isaac's performance. He is perfect in this role, playing 2 different characters so convincingly that just from his facial expressions, I can tell which one he is. That's something to really be commended. Heck, I even like the Moon Knight costume design. They took Moon Knight's original comic book costume and merged it with like a mummy wraps look to make it look more Egyptian. How creative is that? Also, even though Khonshu isn't super Egyptian accurate, he's still very entertaining in this. I had a lot of fun with all the Egyptian culture references, Egyptian deity references, and so on and so on. I don't really have much else to say about this show. It's just a lot of fun, save for a couple of problems, especially with the final fight. I can totally see why that would be disappointing to people. It was disappointing to me as well. But I'd really love to see a season 2 of this.
How old is Matilda?
4.
Sandman. People have been recommending that I check out the Sandman comics for years, and after seeing this show, I can see why. This was very good. Very entertaining, and I was really on board for the whole thing. Mostly. I'll get to the one issue I had with it later. But the first third is one big story, which I was on board for the whole time. I really liked the setup, and I really liked the finale episode of the first third, which takes place in the diner. That was so dark and character-driven and interesting. I still remember every single character from that diner and what they were all like. That really says something about how well written it was. I also really love how this actor played the Sandman. It was a really interesting and unique character. I also really liked the second third of the show, which was basically just individual stories. I really liked the Death episode. I liked Death as a character. Now, some people were kind of annoyed because apparently Death is goth in the comics, and they really wanted a goth girl Death in this show. I honestly think it's better that she's not a goth girl, because this show portrayed her as the kind of Death who tries to make dying easier for people and make it feel less scary when they pass on to the other side. I don't think that's gonna work quite as well if she's in goth makeup when she greets them, to be honest with you. Also, the episode about the immortal guy is one of my favorites. Him and the diner episode, I think, were my 2 favorites. That was a really entertaining story through and through. It's really impressive how this series can work when it has a continuing story across episodes, and even when it just has a self-contained story in one episode. That really speaks to Neil Gaiman's work. However, the last third was not as good. The whole Vortex storyline I didn't really like. I thought it was a stupid little, this whole, this one person is just randomly born with the power to completely destroy our world. I'm so sick of that. That stupid chosen one prophecy, end of the world. I'm so done with that kind of story. However, it did lead to another really cool storyline where they basically have a serial killer convention. And the way Sandman takes down the serial killer convention, I won't ruin it here, but it was a really creative idea, and it's something I can believe he would be able to do. So yeah, overall, really enjoyed Sandman. The only thing I didn't like was the Vortex storyline. I hope it gets another season. Apparently, we're not too sure if it will, because the show is very expensive to make. But I'm rooting for you, Neil.
That's it. 3. 1, 2, 3.
The Northman. It really sucks that this movie seemed to bomb at the box office, because it's pretty darn great. The story at first seems like your typical revenge tale, which I was totally on board for. I love a good revenge story. But later on into the story, some things were revealed that I legitimately did not see coming, and it led to me questioning the morality of pretty much every single character, including the main one. That's impressive in my opinion. On top of that, the action is really brutal and feels pretty real at times. I really enjoyed that as well. And I really like how three-dimensional everybody is. The acting's really great, and the only real problem I think I have with this film is its absolute waste of Willem Dafoe. How dare you waste Willem Dafoe? But other than that, really entertaining film. And it's a pretty long film at 2 hours and 17 minutes, yet I was never bored once. I really wanted to keep going the whole way through, and I kept rooting for the main character until a certain point where I wasn't entirely sure whether I should root for him or not. But you can watch the movie and make your own decisions. That's what's so great about it.
You're number 2.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Hey, this counts. There's mythical stuff in it, like Excalibur and King Midas and a certain deity who I'm not going to spoil here. I was really surprised by how good this film was, especially since the last Puss in Boots movie was kinda lame, honestly. I wasn't expecting to like this one at all. Straight from the trailer, I thought, really? Why are we doing this? Come on, what are you beating the dead horse for? But after seeing this, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing even more of these films. And it looks like that might be the route they're taking, so great! This movie is very interesting in that during the regular scenes, it has animation of a high-quality later Shrek film, but during the action scenes, it seems to be going for something more like Into the Spider-Verse. Now, that might turn some people off because it might feel choppy to them, but a lot of people also really like Spider-Verse, so a lot of people might also like it. I personally think it's just going to be surprising to a lot of people since we haven't seen this in a Shrek or Puss in Boots movie before. I don't even know if we've seen this in a DreamWorks movie, period, before. But regardless, that's what the animation is like. The characters are a ton of fun. There's this one little dog character who I really thought was going to be super annoying, but he has some legit very funny jokes and some legit pretty sweet moments, honestly, so I was very surprised there as well. Also, I really love the other fairy tale characters who appear in this. Jack Horner steals the entire movie. He is so entertaining. And there's another littler character who I won't spoil who appears with Jack Horner who is just absolutely hilarious. Also, Goldilocks and the Three Bears show up, and they're not only funny and entertaining, but they're actually very charming as well. Puss in Boots is also incredibly entertaining and funny, and the other villain, the deity I mentioned earlier, is legit threatening and also entertaining. That's really the best way to describe this movie, just entertaining, entertaining, entertaining. It has so much energy, the characters are so much fun, and the plot is... well, I guess the plot is alright, but overall, I just really liked the film, and I can definitely see why everyone was highly recommending it. Now, personally, I still put Shrek and Shrek 2 above this one, but after Puss in Boots 1, this is a really impressive way to continue the story. Violent Night. Yes, I know, Puss in Boots and the Northman should technically be up here since those are much higher quality films, but I don't care. This is my list and I absolutely love this movie. My god, it's Santa Claus Die Hard. This should not be a good film. This should be one of those stupid, so bad it's good movies that ends up on Amazon Prime next to Thanksgiving and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But they somehow managed to take this premise and make a legit good movie out of it. I've seen it twice now, and I would love to go see it a third time. I mean, the action is a lot of fun. The jokes are legitimately funny. I can't think of any bad ones. The Santa Claus character feels like Santa Claus, and yet at the same time, he also feels like the kind of guy who would be kicking the crap out of all these robbers. How did you manage to do that? Well, it's probably the actor. I legit love this actor. I loved him in Stranger Things, and I love him here. And he does a great job here. The story isn't just badass and funny. It's legit heartfelt and charming at times. I think that's a really impressive accomplishment, and I would absolutely love to see a sequel to this. Have Santa battle Krampus or something. Honestly, I just can't recommend this movie enough. And after I made my discussion video on this, everyone in the comments was agreeing with me. I have yet to find a single person who didn't like this film. All of my friends who have seen it have highly enjoyed it. If you're someone who doesn't like this film, please tell me why. You will be a very unique human being. But overall, I just love this movie so much. I plan to watch this regularly at Christmas time. This is now a Christmas classic, as Wilda said in our discussion video. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about Violent Night. So those are pretty much my thoughts on all the myth movies and TV shows that came out in 2022. I don't know if there's any I missed. If I did, please let me know in the comments. These are all the ones that I could find. I'm really sorry again that I wasn't able to do video games on the list. I really would have liked to. Maybe next year. It wouldn't be fair for me to rank myth-related video games when I've only played like 2 or 3 of them out of the, I'm pretty sure, 5 to 6 that came out this past year. Also, do you disagree with me? I'm more than willing to hear your thoughts, and I'm also really interested to see what your guys' ranking lists would be like. Please, post all of that in the comments so I can read through them and see what the general consensus is on all of these films. Did you like this ranking video? Do you want to see more of this in the future? Let me know. And that's about it. I don't know how to end videos.